Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on night drainage bags. I think this is about the fifth or sixth one we've done so far. Nice to see so many of you with us this evening. So the webinar has been recorded because it will go on the website afterwards. I was just saying earlier that it's quite useful to have these things on the website because we get questions in Facebook group, and then we can point them at some of the webinars that answer the questions for them. Talking of questions, we'll take verbal questions at the end, but if you want to put anything in the chat during the course of the presentations, then please don't hesitate to do that. That'll be fine. And we've got two speakers plus myself this evening. We've got Paul Russell Roberts from Coloplast, who some of you may know if you've been on some of these webinars before. Paul has got 25 years experience of nursing. At least half of that has been in specialist stoma care. So he's pretty well up in the stoma care area, and he's published quite a lot of papers on his work. So he likes to get his word out there. So that's good. And also he likes his sort of key aim in life really is to help people on the stoma journey and make sure that they have a good time. After Paul, we've got Anna Cooper. Anna she has a urostomy and an ileostomy due to having endometriosis. And Anna has got her own charity called Menstrual Health Project to try and help people of the next generation don't fall into the same problems that she's encountered this time. So we'll kick off with Paul. He's got a few slides and a little video to show us. So over to you, Paul.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction, Brian, and thank you again, everybody, for having me on another one of your fantastic webinars. And what I will do, as Brian said, I'll jump in with it. It is a very short kind of presentation that I've got for you this evening. There we go. So options for night drainage, and I've called this one "There is more than one solution." I'm going to be coming to that in a little while. So I know that this slide, most of you are already going to know it. It's just to make sure that we get everything covered. So for many individuals with a urostomy, a night bag is essential to ensure you get a full night's sleep. Now, I know some people have lots of problems with issues with the night bag. So when I say a full night's sleep, that's what they're intended to do. That's their intended purpose, is to increase the volume from your urostomy pouch, so you don't have to wake up at night to empty it. When it comes to night bags, they're averaging about 2 liters, so about 2,000 mil capacity. They do come in 2 types. You've got the disposable ones, so they don't have an opening down at the bottom, so they're classed as a closed night bag. And then you've got drainable. And the drainable ones, most people change them, put a new one on every 5 to 7, use a new one every 5 to 7 days. If you are quite susceptible to UTIs, to urinary tract infections, that can be reduced, and we do recommend you reducing it just to reduce what we call the bacterial load. So just in case there is anything in the bag, just to reduce those risks of getting urinary tract infections. There's a number of different ways they can be washed. Lots of people people say that they just use some warm soapy water, give it a rinse through, pour it down the top, let it run through, give it a little rinse out. Some people will use something like a mild Milton. Please don't use anything stronger than Milton. I have to say that. And one of the things I will always say as well is please, if you do rinse it out, which I do recommend, is please try to open up the bottom tap and obviously the top is going to be open as well, to let it try and drip dry completely, because you don't want old, even if it's soapy water or Milton, you don't want that fluid left in the bottom of the bag. So you want to try and get that bag as dry as possible during the day, so it reduces the risk of any kind of bugs or bacteria growing in that bag. So as I say, changing every 5 to 7 days, and rinsing out each morning. So common complications. So with a night bag, again, as from my time in practice, these are really taken from what I have seen are the most common complications or issues that people come to me, or still do come to me with, when talking about the use of a night drainage bag. And we were actually talking about this before the webinar went live, and that's I class as connection leaking. So this is pretty much the number one problem that people face when it comes to complications. So I always give 2 pieces of advice instantly, which is, don't push it in too far. For lots of people who use a rubber bung, if you push it in too far, what you actually do is you stretch the rubber bung on the bottom of your pouch, which means so when you try to put the bung in again in the next morning, it just falls out. So try not to push it in too far, but likewise, if you don't push it in far enough, obviously it can come apart as well. So there's a perfect little area which is just in enough. So, but obviously people want to, we want to make sure that it's in. So lots of people do try to push it in, but don't push it in too far, because again, that can actually be one of the issues that can make the connection leak. And the second one is matching the manufacturer. So what I mean by that is the type of pouch you've got, whether it's a Coloplast, whether it's a Danzak, whether it's a Hollis, it doesn't matter what it is. If at all possible, try to match the manufacturer of your urostomy pouch with the manufacturer of your night drainage bag. And again, a lot of the times, the issues that I've helped people overcome is when there's been this mismatch of manufacturer. So they're the 2 things I always say first. People do come up with wonderful ways to try and support that connection, to make sure that connection stays together. I don't recommend glue. Some people do use some glue. But as I say, some people just use a little bit of tape, something like Micropore, just to support and hold it, just to give you that sense of confidence when you with the connection between your urostomy and your night drainage bag. And second one is the urostomy pouch not actually emptying into the night drainage bag itself. So this is kind of what I class this as. It's the lack of siphoning can be very, very problematic. And there's 2 major ways you can always deal with this lack of siphoning or the pouch not actually emptying. And the first one is try to increase the distance between the pouch and the actual night bag itself. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about nightstands and those sorts of things. I've got some fantastic images as well coming up shortly. But sometimes even an increase of 3 or 4 inches can make all the difference to just get that and let gravity support that pulling down, that siphoning of the urine from your pouch into the night bag. And one of the biggest things that I found, and one of the best solutions, is when you actually connect your urostomy bag to the night bag, is don't have your urostomy bag completely empty before you connect. If you can keep about 50 mils, 50, 60 mils in the bottom of your urostomy bag. So when you connect, and if you lift the bottom of the bag up, so obviously it's not going to drain out onto your toes. And that little bit of fluid, that little bit of wee actually in the bag, when you then drop it down, it actually starts that siphoning process off. So when the urostomy is producing urine, that siphon is already there. So leaving a little bit of urine in your bag, again, is a fantastic way to actually generate that siphoning, because if you don't have that siphoning at the start, it can be problematic. Number 3 is tube kinking, and this kind of connects with the second one, that I've mentioned. So, and this can be anywhere along the system. So, lots of people find, and again, if you've had catheters in the past as well, you may have used a leg strap. So, some people will actually connect the tubing to their thigh using a leg strap, and what that will do is, again, is it stops that twisting, and it stops. So right at the upper aspect of the connection, quite close to that. And again, sometimes having the leg strap actually supports with the first problem of the connection, the connection leaking, coming apart, because there's no pressure on it. The leg strap can actually take that pressure away. It can actually deal with multiple problems as well. So I always used to recommend people use a leg strap, not too tight. We don't want your leg going blue, but just tight enough to support, to stop that from kinking. And again, a really easy way that some people have said it is, what they'll do is they'll actually, it sounds almost contraindicated, but some people actually say if they put their tube underneath their leg, underneath their thigh, again, it holds it quite still, and it stops that rotation and that twisting motion, which again can cause an obstruction anywhere along the system. So you'll see from these, you know, a lot of the ones I always try to say first are very, very, for want of better words, simple solutions. They're solutions that can be done really, really quickly and easily initiated. And once you've kind of ticked off these kind of solutions, then we can start looking at other ones as well. But I can say 85%, these initial solutions will deal with almost all of the problems that people have. And the last one is nightwear, especially this one, especially for the guys, if you're wearing long pajamas. But again, ladies as well, I'm not being discriminatory. You know, again, we all like a nice comfy pair of pajamas. And for many, you know, having wearing pajama bottoms and having a night bag, pardon the pun, but it can be a bit of a nightmare. There you can use things like extension tubing. Some people don't have their drainage bag. If they've got a long enough tube, they don't have it down by the side of the bed. They have it at the end of the bed. Again, means they can move a lot more and they move around. And I've also seen some fantastic adaptations of clothing. I've had some people who sew in a little slit just in the seam of their pajamas, and then they'll feed the connecting tube up in, connected to the thigh as normal, and again it just helps with that support. So nightwear can be difficult, because obviously if it comes out the top, it can be challenging if your stoma isn't high enough, because it can fold the bag in half and it'll stop it from draining. It can increase the kinks in the bag. So when it comes to complications, these are the 4 main ones. And again, I'll be more than happy to talk, you know, at the end of the webinar, if anybody does have any other potential solutions to any of those. I'd love to hear some of your guys' solutions as well to these 4 main topics. Now, the other one, and I've just mentioned it now, is hanging the night bag. And when it comes to hanging the night bag, there is no one solution. Like I said, everybody's different. Everybody has their own solutions, and what works for one person it won't work for everybody. And again, I was privileged enough to have a little look at the Urostomy Association website, and on there, some of you guys have shared your solutions. And I just wanted to I did ask permission. I had a word with Sam before I did this. And it's the ingenious way that people have done this. And I love John's night bag arrangement whilst on a cruise. And I can see here that he actually used the Coloplast close clip that they supply. I don't know whether they still do, to kind of hold everything in place. That's a fantastic, you know, there's no big stand or anything like that. I love this solution. It's an ingenious solution. For a problem of kind of being on the move, going on holiday and that sort of thing. So, and I can see there that the bag is also a collapsible bag as well. So again, space saving, it's an ingenious way of doing it. This one here, I don't know whether it's the same, Brian, but I love this solution. This has been my solution, my go-to solution when it comes to night drainage bags for as long as I've been a Stoneman nurse. It was one of the first tricks, hints, tips that I was taught is don't bother with the stand. You know, and lots of patients actually don't bother with the stand. What they'll do is they'll just place the bag in a washing up bowl and just leave it on the floor. So you're increasing the distance between the base of the pouch, and you know, it's letting gravity just pull that urine down, adding to the siphoning. Lots of people can then they put it under the bed, so they're not stepping in it or anything like that. So as long as you haven't got a divan bed, if you've got a little bit of gap under the bed, people just push the wash basin underneath. It's out of the way, it's neater, it's tidier. So when I saw this image, it was like, yep, that's one of the first things I was taught as a Stoneman nurse when it comes to both urostomies and for catheters for that statement as well. I love this one, Alistair's night bag equipment. I was looking at these and I was thinking, right, how have they actually done it? This looks like a food storage container, which is really nice. It's compact, it's down by the side. And I look at this and I'm thinking that's a metal catheter stand, night bag stand, and it looks like it's just been slid underneath the mattress as well. So it's a really, really good, firm support. That isn't going to go anywhere, no matter how much you wiggle or anything like that. That's not going to go anywhere. And again, that confidence, if you don't think, you know, you've closed, you know, if it's a drainable bag, if you don't think you've closed it that much, you know, you're not going to be having a wet carpet. There's something there to support it in. So again, a fantastic, ingenious way of having the night bag on. As you can see here, you know, when you look at what the hospital teaches you, which was that first image, we've had 3 images in total, 4 images, all with completely different solutions of how the night bag can stand. And I can see that there's a rationale behind every single one of those. So, you know, as an experienced Stoneman nurse, what I say is, you know, you guys are the experts, and you learn these little hints and tips from fellow ostomates, but also through just adapting to what works best for you as well. So hanging the night bag, don't be afraid to be ingenious and you know, and actually think, right, what is going to work for me? And I said, these images and these like top tips on night bags are actually on the Urostomy Association website. So that's where I've got those. So massive, massive thank you for those people that have shared their images. Really, really do appreciate it. So thank you so much to those. One of the things I was also asked to talk about is what's called the U-drain system. Now, I'm not sure, some people have heard of it, some people haven't. It's relatively new. So what I wanted to do is just very, very quickly go through the U-drain system. So as you can see here, it's actually permanently installed into homes for people who need nighttime urine collection. And you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here that there is an installation charge. And these are the latest figures. I actually see it from down there. I double checked them today. So the 14th of the 11th, this is taken from the National Institute of Clinical Excellence. So it's what guides best practice. So this one here, that initial installation of 350 is paid by the patient. And then the consumables, they say it's about 130. But again, these are now what we call FP10, so they are available on prescription. So you may have that initial outlay of the installation, but after that, you know, these are the consumables, as we call them, are available on prescription. What I would say though is be careful with that. If it is something that you are interested in, talk to your GP first. Because again, they're the ones that hold, unfortunately, they're the ones that hold the budget. So, you know, I don't want you going, yes, brilliant, 350, I'll get that, and then I'll get it on prescription. And your GP turn around and say, well, I'm not going to write that prescription for you. So just be careful. If it is something you're interested in, please have a little look, have a little investigate. Please, again, if you just do "you drain urine" into a Google search, and I would go to the National Institute of Clinical Excellence, NICE, and read the document that they've got in there. It's really well written. It's really, really easy to read, and it really does go through it. So you can see the advocacy behind the U-Drain system. So that's a little bit there, and hopefully through the power of technology, hopefully this video is going to work. So there you go. As I say, I've had no experience of using the U-Drain system, so I can't give my personal opinion. But as I say, that information there was all the information I've given to you about it today has been directly from, I said, the National Institute of Clinical Excellence. So I'm not getting paid by them for talking about it. But as I say, potentially it's something you might want to talk to your GP and or stoma nurse about if it's something that you feel that you may benefit from. And lastly, well, again, I mentioned this at the start of my presentation, is thank you to you guys. Almost all of the knowledge I have, especially on living with a stoma, in this instance specifically urostomy, has been provided to me by people just like you. I said I don't have a urostomy, and all of the hints and tips I give to people are coming from you. So it's only through learning from you guys, expert by experience, that I've been able to support. And when I say hundreds of patients, I mean hundreds of patients. So I honestly mean it. A massive, massive thank you for sharing your lived experiences with me to enable me to support, as I say, hundreds of other people in very, very similar situations to yourself. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to pass it back over to Brian. So thank you very much, Brian.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Paul. That's very interesting. I'm going to be talking about this from a user perspective shortly, but before we do that, Anna, I think, is going to talk to us now about her experience with night drainage bags. So over to you, Anna.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me tonight. So I first came across night drainage bags when I was fitted with an indwelling catheter when I would have been 26, when I went into permanent bladder retention. And night bags then were pretty simple for me with like attaching them to my indwelling catheter. It's only I struggled a little bit more when my urostomy was formed last year. So I have two stomas, so I have an ileostomy as well. So dealing with having two stoma bags on my stomach was difficult enough to then manage the extra bag in the evening. I didn't find relatively straightforward. And I really struggled to with the weight of night drainage bags, especially with my urostomy. So with my indwelling catheter, I used to just put over my waistband when I was wearing pajamas. Whereas with my urostomy, I couldn't because it was much lower down. So I'd have to feed it through my pajama trousers. So I've found the best way was to wear wide leg pajamas so there was more room. So what the tubing wasn't rubbing against my leg and there was no friction, because I'd get friction burns, especially kind of on my hip area, where it was leaning when I was sleeping. I also wear I use night bags, but I still set up an alarm in the middle of the night because I was explaining earlier to Paul that I've had an issue with my connectors not staying put, so they would release in the middle of the night, and then there'd be urine all over my bed. So I've been setting alarms to make sure that my night bags are draining properly. But I have found out of all the night bags, the simpler night bag is the best one that has worked for me. And I use a Sensora Myo urostomy bag, and I use the maxi bag because for me personally, I just find it easier because I have to drink at least 3 litres a day due to my kidney issues. I'm constantly emptying, so having a maxi bag is much better for me. But all in all, using night drainage bags, I wouldn't be without them because otherwise I would be up every 30 minutes in the night. So it does give me some more flexibility from that side. But yeah, it's been an adjustment to get used to them, and I'm still getting used to them a year on from having urostomy because I feel like it is very different using them to what I used with an indwelling catheter, because I had much longer tubing with the indwelling catheter because it was attaching to a leg bag, whereas with the urostomy I don't. But yeah, so it's been one of those journeys.
Okay, thanks, Hannah, for that. That's all adds to the interest. Some things that Paul's covered a lot of the things that I was going to talk about, but there's one or two things that I can perhaps add. And just picking up on the U-drain issue, it has been around, Paul, for about 10 years now. It's been around for quite a while. A lot of people, well, I say a lot of people, I don't know that many people that use it, but the ones that I do, of course, when they go away on holiday, they can't take that with them. So they have to take night drainage bags with them. And some GPs have been very strict in saying, well, you're going away for 12 days, so you can have 12 disposable drainage bags. So I don't think the GPs are too happy with them. The other point is about the £350 for installation. They do say that if you're a good DIYer, you could do it yourself and save the 350, but you might end up with leaks on the tubing on that one. So it might money well spent. I think just note Martin from Sheffield on the call. I know there are some people in your area, Martin, that have got the U-drain. I don't know if you've got any experience of it. You're muted, yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
No, this is the first I've heard of it, to be honest.
All right.
Nobody's ever spoken to me about it. I just have a normal night bag. Luckily, I'm not a restless sleeper or anything like that, so I don't really have any problems with it. It was just to try and pick up some tips for anybody else who had these problems. Although my bag is different make, manufacturer to me, flange and everything, but I've never had any problems disconnecting. Well, I've had one, but that's about it. So no, I'm afraid that I don't know anybody who has this drainage, and that's all I can think of is that if you do go on holiday, it's a whole new ball game, isn't it? With a night drainage bag. After you've been used to this luxury of having it just go out straight out. So.
Yeah. The other one that we were talking about before the webinar went live was to sort of imagine what it might look like on the estate agent's blurb when you're selling your property. But anyway, no, as far I currently use disposable night bags, and I find them particularly useful when I'm going out and about and staying in hotels and things like that, as opposed to trying to take equipment to clean out or wash out the reusable ones. I mean, the issue with that is that, I mean, from a cost perspective, a reusable night bag is around about £14 in rough terms. I'm cutting, just in rough figures. And you use that for 7 days, as Paul mentioned. The disposable night bags are nearly £3 each. So if you look at the difference between the £14 and seven of the disposable ones, you're looking at about £7 difference over the period of 7 days. And you've also got, with disposable ones, you're adding to the environmental problems. You're disposing of plastic on a regular basis. So, it's horses for courses. But I found it better to use that for my own personal reasons. I did start off by using the night drainage bags with tap on. And I think it was either the first or second night out of hospital. Of course, I forgot to close the tap on it, and you get up next morning, and it was fortunately it wasn't this Brian that did the one on the thing, but we did have a bowl to keep it in, so it was all in the bowl rather than on the carpet. As far as flow is concerned, from the pouch to the night bag, for the last 13.5 years, I've worn a 2-piece pouch. And what I do with the 2-piece pouch, last thing at night before I go to bed, is empty most of it into the loo and then take the pouch off and turn it at right angles to my body. So it's pointing down at the night bag. The line of flow, if you like, is in a direct line. It's not going around a bend or a kink or anything of that sort. And I've never had any problems with flow into the night bags. I have had excuse me, I have had one issue where a night bag, I put a fresh night bag on one night, and it was actually split. So you do occasionally, very occasionally, get damaged bags. So if, just as a point on any damaged part of appliances that you use, it's best to keep the details of the details of the in the box, if you like, so you can report it back to the companies, and they can trace it back and see if anybody else has had any problems and correct that. I've not had any problems with adapters or anything like that, and I do use the same night bag manufacturers I'm using for the pouch, so it's fairly straightforward. Some people talk about the sort of diameter of the tubing and stuff like that. The disposable pouches that I use has got quite a narrow tubing on it, but again, it doesn't cause me any problems. Whereas the reusable one's quite a broad one, so that is a bit easier. But no, I think that Paul covered most of what I was going to talk about. So I think that's it from me. So we can open the floor now to any questions. I've not seen any in the chat. Have you, Scott? So if anybody's got any questions, then fire away. Anybody? Mark, you've got a question.
Well, mine's it's not it's not a question so much as an observation, I think.
Okay.
I use reusable night bags. I've had my Soma for about 5 years. And when I changed the reusable night bag, I always open the bottom valve and blow into it to make sure there's no leakage in the bag itself. So it's like pumping up a balloon. And I do that, blow into it.
Good
If
idea.
it all stays there, then I push the air out, close the valve, and I feel fairly secure then.
Very good. That's a good one. Not heard that one before, but it's a good one. That.
Yeah, I did think to myself, I actually had it on one of my slides, but deleted it because I thought to myself, I can't add. I know, and I did listen to what you said there, Mike. You said the first one you don't do it afterwards, which is a good one after it's been used. But again, just having that little bit of air in it makes so much difference because again, it just supports that siphoning going down. So yes, brilliant idea. Just a little bit of air makes all the difference into your
I do it to make sure that the bag is it hasn't got a hole in it.
Yeah.
And the valve at the end is going to if the valve is faulty, then you won't be able to blow out the balloon.
Exactly.
So it's
exactly.
Just gives you a bit of comfort.
Good.
I only do it at the beginning of the week when I'm changing my
When you put a new one.
bag.
Thanks for
And I
that,
think
Mark. Sorry.
on that topic as well, just to reiterate, and I think I mentioned it last time, and Brian's just mentioned it there. If you do have any problems with any of your products, if you think there's a fault, if there's, you finding you're getting one or two split, if that sort of thing, like Brian said, please write down the lot number, which is on the bottom of the box, which is on the end of the box. Doesn't matter which company that's from, it's on the bottom of the box. Contact your supplier. They will be able to trace whether they've had any other issues with that. What they may ask you to do is send in either the night drainage bag. If you do find that you've had some with splits on, they might ask you to send in if you've had another one with a split in, send it in. Because at the end of and plus what they should do for you as well is supply you free of charge without a prescription needed a replacement batch of products. So if you find that it's one batch, one issue, you're having an issue with one batch, because at the end of it, your GP, your council area has paid for that box of bags, and if it's not up to standard, you shouldn't be out of pocket. So when I say your GP and that sort of thing, you paid your stamps for long enough, so it is you that's going to be out of pocket. So, and they should replace that box free of charge as well. So don't think, I've gone through 5-6 bags, I'm going to have to put a new order in. If it's been a fault with the bags, the supplier should replace that box for you, so you're not completely out of timings, that sort of thing with your ordering as well. So any problems at all, please report them. And I say contact your supplier, whether it's whether you get it straight from the manufacturing supplier like Charter, or whether it's Fittleworth or wherever you get it from. Contact them to make sure that you're not running low on product, and they should be replaced for you. So if you do have any problems, please make sure you let other people know, because it can save a lot of people a lot of embarrassment and a lot of problems and that sort of thing if they're able to put a stop on a lot sooner rather than later. So really important.
Yeah, I would echo that, Paul. And can I also ask people to let Samantha know as well, because if we get a number of people asking or telling us about the same product or same problem, then individuals are perhaps going to be dealing with customer services, who I'm sure are very good in most cases, but we could take it to a higher level if we need to within the companies with the contacts that we've got. So if you can let Samantha know of any issues that you have as well. Any other questions?
Yes, hello.
Sorry, go on. So
Yeah,
you're down as iPad, so I don't know.
Yeah, my name is Steve. I'm sorry, when I signed in, I
That's
didn't
all right.
change the name, and I'm from the US.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Anyways,
got international now.
Thank you. I haven't had any problems with the connections. They've been working fine. I use the Coloplast systems, but I have had a problem where the urine backs up and goes through the adhesive strips. And I've had to be very careful when I apply my pouch to make sure everything's completely dry. And I'm using what's called a Y strip from Coloplast, which seems to help because my stomach's close to my belly button, and that's where the leakage was. But I was wondering if anybody has any experience with it leaking through the plastic strips, not adhering properly. And I'm not sure if it's caused by backing up because I'm a restless sleeper and maybe the urine backs up, or just the adhesion is not correct.
Would it be okay if I took this one, Brian, Anna?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem at all. What I would say first of all is within the bag, and again, this is for everybody if you're not 100%, if you're not aware. So again, if you do know, then please forgive me. But in all urostomy bags, you have a potential non-return valve. So it's like a little bag inside the urostomy bag with the bottom cut off. So as urine flows down, it goes through the little bag inside the bag. So then when you're laying down, it doesn't come back up. Those two bits of plastic basically close, and it's a non-return valve. So urine can't flow back up towards your urostomy. So the amount of urine that is sitting directly around your urostomy shouldn't be that much. Even laying down, it's not going to be that much because it should drop down. So what I would say in this instance is I would speak to a stoma nurse and ask them to reassess your body profile just to make sure that you're on the correct type of base plate. Because it may mean, and again, without seeing you, please don't say, Paul said I need this bag, but it might mean that you need to increase, if you're not on a convexity, you may need a convexity, so a bag with a dish shape on the back, which just supports and fills in any defects or deficits there. And what you can also do as well, I'm not doing a mindless plug, but if you go onto the Coloplast website, and again, I know for a fact it's on Coloplast US, it's on Coloplast Canada, it's on Coloplast UK. You can do what's called the body check. And that is a few little questions which will just go through, and it will then kind of assess what, the perfect base plate would be according to those questions. And it will give you that good indication, because nobody should experience leakage. And what I mean by leakage, and again, this is another thing that I always ensure I do, is confirm what we call perception. It's called confirming the perception of leakage. You'd be amazed how many people only class leakage as when urine comes out from under the base plate. But any urine at all, be it urine or stool, underneath the base plate, it doesn't matter whether it's 1/8 of an inch or completely out, that is leakage. And any amount of leakage can damage your peristomal skin. And if you've got damaged peristomal skin, it leads to this, what we call the vicious cycle of leakage, which is leakage causes peristomal skin problems increase the risk of leakage.
Right.
Leakage, the sorer your skin gets, and you get in this vicious cycle. But also, you get into what's called the mental burden of leakage. Yes. So you only need a couple or one leak, or you don't even necessarily have to have had a leak. But some people are almost crippled by the worry of leaks. And again, the more you worry, the more burden of leakage you have, the more it plays on your mind, the more kind of things you put in place to try and control it. And the more you try to control it, the more you realize you're out of control. And you get into this vicious mental cycle as well, mental cycle as well. So leakage and stomas, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Brian, I think this is how I ended the last one as well. Leakage and stomas do not go hand in hand, and that is whether it's leakage from under your base plate or leakage from a connection, whether it's the bag to your ostomy pouch to your night drainage bag, or whether it's at the bottom of your night drainage bag. Leakage and the physical problems of leakage, the emotional, psychological effects of leakage do not go hand in hand with having a stoma. Okay, and I say this to everybody. It's not something that you should put up with because you've got a stoma. Same goes for sore skin, any amount of leakage. No, they are two very different things. And there is always, as a stoma nurse, there is always a solution. It might not be a simple solution. And sometimes you need to think outside of the box as a stoma nurse, but they do not go hand in hand. So one of the first things I would do is take the body check on the Coloplast website. And if you just put stoma body check into Google, it'll pop up.
Yeah, I've gone through that actually.
Yeah.
So, and I have a convex where my stoma is below the skin line.
There you go. So if it's below and it's a urostomy, and again, this isn't clinical, don't say Paul said, but instantly I'd be looking at a deep convex for you. Just to help push that stoma out and doing that. And again, a lot of the times that will solve a lot of your nighttime problems as well, especially if it's at night. Urine's just, any amount of urine produced is just going to go straight underneath that base plate and cause problems.
And I use a ring. Do you think that's still advisable?
If your stoma is below skin level, then again, using a ring, I'm not a fan of using seals with stomas, which are, this is me personally, this is from my personal practice, so just to emphasize that, is the vast majority of the time, it's about the depth of the convexity that you use. And if you use the correct level of convexity, a lot of the time you don't need to use a seal. Seals are fantastic when they're used brilliantly, when they're used in the correct situation. The best way to think about it, and again, this is hopefully interesting for everybody, is if you are using a seal, if you've got a stoma that's flat with your skin, the job of convexity is to make that stoma pop out and protrude a bit more. It makes it pop out. That's one of the key things for what convexity is used for. So take the deep convex of 9 millimeters, for instance. Okay, so when you put that on the stoma, the stoma's not going to pop up 9 millimeters. It's going to pop up again, just rough average of about 4.5 millimeters. So if you then put a seal on, which is 2.5 millimeters deep, what you're actually doing is that 9 millimeters of convexity is going to be pushing that stoma 4.5 millimeters up. But if you've got a seal that's 2.5 millimeters, what you're actually doing is you're now reducing that convexity by 2.5 millimeters. So you've got 9 millimeters convexity, but you're actually only pushing the stoma up 2 millimeters above the skin. So if you didn't have the seal, went for a deeper convexity, then you'd actually have more protrusion, potentially more protrusion, and potentially a better seal as well. So I always say the base plate is the key aspect to all stoma care, is getting the correct fit for your base plate. And that's one of the key aspects, is getting that fit. And that goes for everybody out there, is making sure. And you change, everybody changes. So, as time goes on, as your weight goes up, as your weight goes down, as your skin ages, your skin needs and your stomal needs change. So just because you've been absolutely fine for 5, 6, 7 years, or even 5, 6, 7 months, then suddenly you have problems. Don't think, what am I doing wrong? So I will guarantee you haven't done anything wrong. Something has changed, which is causing the issue. And that's when I will always say, reach out to your healthcare professional, reach out to a stoma nurse and say, look, I'm having problems. That is what we're there for. So I always say I get more upset if I find out one of my patients is having problems and not contacted me than if my patient contacts me and they go, well, actually, I don't really think it might not be a problem. And it's not a problem. I go, that's absolutely fine. I'm pleased you still know where my number is. So a stoma nurse will never, ever complain if you phone them up for a reason that isn't really a major reason. If it means it's giving you emotional support, that's what we're here for.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Paul, I
Deb-
just
Debbie-
wanted to come in
Sorry, Anna.
briefly.
Yeah.
Just about my own experience, just to reassure you, I had the same issue with it burning through the adhesive, and I went from a flat bag to then a deep convex, and it's made a world of difference. So the only leakage I get is with connection, nothing to do with the urostomy bag itself. So like Paul said, changing your bag can be an absolute game changer in that aspect. It makes a world of difference.
Okay, thanks, Anna. We've had one on the chat from John, who said after 3 or 4 days, his night bag tends to balloon up. Anything you can tell us on that one, Paul?
It's a difficult one. What I would say is if it's after 3 or 4 days, is he washing it out properly? Because my concern would be a bacterial growth within the bag, either bacterial or fungal growth within the bag, and it can happen, which is producing air. So when some bacteria or microorganisms proliferate, so when they generate, when they grow, they can produce a gas. They do. So again, specifically fungal and yeast infections do that. So double check the cleaning of the night bags. If that's an issue, just to make sure, again, potentially use a mild Milton solution just to make sure that everything's killed in there. Or potentially, as I'm a little bit like yourself, Brian, go to a disposable one. Or it might just be that, do you know what, 3 or 4 days is the limit to how often he can use a drainable bag. So he might have fantastic cleaning technique, everything that might be perfect. And it might just be one of those things that, his routine is a new night bag every 3 days. But as I said, if it's going to that, potentially try a disposable, maybe a good option. Oh, you're on mute, Brian, if you're talking.
Sorry about that. Got one on the chat from Mary about washing out night bags and disinfecting them, but I think we've gone through that one. That's fine. So yeah, any other questions before we close? Anybody? No, I can't see everybody, but I don't look like it.
Hello,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
hiya.
Hiya.
My name's John.
Hi, John.
I'm only 5 weeks post-op, so all of this
wow.
is really new to me. I had some issues with my urostomy bag leaking when I first came out of hospital, but the stoma nurse changed the bag, so that solved that problem. But I have massive issues with it not draining, the urostomy, the bag not actually draining at night into the night bag. What the urostomy nurse suggests is I put a leg bag on below the knee, so the urostomy goes to a leg bag, and then the leg bag drains into a night bag, which is fine because it goes down on my right leg, which is fine. If I can now lie on my side now, which is a real bonus. So if I lie on my right side, it seems fine, but if I lie on my left side, the urostomy doesn't drain even into the leg bag.
Yeah.
Don't know if I'm doing something wrong there.
It's one of those ones where it's not that you're doing anything wrong. So please don't. And again, the people on here, they've had you're 5 weeks in, and it sounds terrible when I say it, hopefully it's not. If that's the issue you're having, do you know what? That is something we can deal with. Okay. The guys on here, as I say, they're here to support you. You're in a fantastic environment. As I said, the likes of Brian, Samantha, and everybody here. It's a really, really supportive environment. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing fantastically well. What I would say is think about those solutions that I mentioned within that short presentation that I did, or almost have a look when you're laying down, have a look at what's happening to the tubing and the bag. one of the most common issues is, imagine the bag there and you've got the connection tube there, is when it twists the bottom of the bag. And imagine just like twisting the plastic bag, you're closing the end up. So I always say start at the top of the system and work the way down. Where's the problem? And if you kind of do it in that methodical way, so it's like, right, is the bottom of the bag twisting? So where I make that connection, is that connection making the bag twist to not go in? Is there something slightly lower down? So where it's sitting, is it twisting, or is the bag kinking? How tall? And again, you can even go down to things like, I don't know how tall your bed is.
Yeah.
Is it one of those ones where the height of the bag, and again, I don't know whether you had a misspent youth like me, but if you siphon in petrol, it's a lot quicker if you put the bucket lower down than if you hold it up. Not that I've ever siphoned petrol out of someone's car before. Anyway, that's a different story. But if you can increase the amount of gravitational effect, and as I said, even 6 inches, 4 inches can make so much difference. So if you've got quite a low bed and you're using a catheter stand, you might only have 1 inch, 2 inches of drop between your urostomy and the bag, and it might just not be enough gravity to help that siphoning. As I say, being able to put some urine in the system first. It doesn't even have to be urine. It can be a little bit of water in the pipe, just to help get that thing moving there. So, and again, things like a leg strap will just help stop any of that twisting motion. So there's lots of little things. What I would say is have a little think about all those little things there that I've kind of gone through before. And I said, I can send in that little list of my top tips to Brian and that sort of thing. And by all means, if you reach out to them, I'm sure they'll share it with you, those little top tips that you might find. And like I said, 85% of the time, I gave 4 common problems, and 85% of the time, one of those 2 tips for each one of those those core problems will solve your problem.
Okay.
So I always say go for the simplest solution first. Look for the simplest of problem. I can almost guarantee a lot of it is twisting. It's twisting at the bottom of the bag, or it's no siphon. And you just haven't got that siphoning pressure to drag the urine out. And once you've got that, hopefully you'll get a better night's sleep.
All right. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Paul,
Okay, good.
Paul, quick question.
Yeah.
I have the issue with the twisting, and my stomach nurse told me to use is it a grip lock?
Yeah.
Where would that work?
Yes.
Helping, because that helped me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't twisting then, so it would drain much easier. So I'm just wondering if that would help.
It's the leg straps, grip locks. Again, John, I'm not sure where you get your products from, but if you are, any supplier will be able to support you with identifying what it is. Some call them grip locks, some call them leg backs, leg straps. There's so many different names out there, but yeah, no, that's a perfect one, because I like the grip lock, because it does hold. It doesn't move, the grip lock.
No, because I used to stick it onto my top of my thigh, and then I'd kind of figure the tube out and then lock it into place, and then it wouldn't keep twisting, and then it just drains it then. And I found it much easier, because if you are a wriggler in your sleep like I am, it twists quite a lot, whereas having that grip, especially because it's like it just clips into place, doesn't it, and holds that tubing, it has more of a structure. So I don't know, John, that might be worth asking for, because I definitely found it helpful for myself, especially in the early days post-op, because you're trying to find your feet as well. Yes,
something like that. That's the one.
Yeah, that's it.
It's in the packet. It should be on your leg, John.
I know, it's just in a bag of tricks I was sent out with.
Yeah, that's it.
They weren't compatible with the bags and things that I've been prescribed, but now you're saying it, that sort of looks like
that's it. So if you if you work out how, so it depends what type of urostomy bag you've got and how long it is. See how long it is down to your kind of thigh, and then work out when you put the night bag on where it's comfortable for you to stick that on your thigh, and then slip it in, like lock it into place, and try that and see if that helps, because there's just a lot less movement with it. And I found that was an absolute game changer for me with because mine used to twist all the time and it would drive me insane. And then going back to the previous person's question in regard to like backfilling and then affecting the adhesive, it was like one thing was dominoing another. And it is really daunting when you've just had surgery. So when I had my urostomy surgery, I developed sepsis after it. So I was really poorly, and it was just, I didn't know what was going on. And even though I had one stoma, they're very different on how to manage, because, well, you know, don't you, Paul? Like, it's completely different. So yeah, it's just finding little tricks and how to get used to it. But give that a go and see if that helps.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks for that, Anna. Okay, I think we've run nearly the hour now, so unless anybody's got any other burning questions, I'd like to thank Paul and Anna for their input, and also Scott for his technical assistance as usual, and also to thank Coloplast for sponsoring the webinar this evening. It's very good for us to have sponsors of these things. And the final thing is, as you log out, there is should be an evaluation form to fill out, if you wouldn't mind. It helps us to evaluate how things have gone and to see if we can improve anywhere for the next one. I don't think we've got a date or subject for the next one yet, Samantha, but keep an eye out on the Facebook group and the website, and we'll perhaps have one, I guess, early in the new year now. So there we go. So thanks everybody for taking part. Hope it's been useful. And there's also the link to the evaluation forms in the chat as well. So if you want to do it that way. So thanks everybody, and have a good evening, and hope you have no leaks tonight. Okay.
Take care, everyone.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.